In 2018, we traveled aboard Aer Lingus from Logan International Airport in Boston, Massachusetts to the International Airport in Shannon, Ireland, arriving about 6:15 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, meaning we lost about 5 hours of sleep. It is well worth it. After picking up our rental car at the airport, we drove west to Kilrush, County Clare, stopping at Crody's Pub for a lovely little breakfast. Then on to the grave of the Yellow Men. The grave of the Yellow Men is a memorial to 9 or 11 sailors who died in Kilkee Bay. As the story goes, in the 19th century, a group of foreign sailors drowned in a boating tragedy close to Kilkee Pier. The locals made an attempt to rescue the sailors, but this was unsuccessful. The names and the nationalities of the sailors were unknown, and since then they were referred to locally as the Yellow Men. This had nothing to do with the color of their skin, but rather the fact that they were foreigners. The stones along the shore are so interesting. After millions of years of being tumbled by the ocean, the stones are smooth and round. Here you will also see barnacles and sea anemones in the tide pools. The next stop is Loop Head Lighthouse. On the way you will see hedgerows covered with grasses and wildflowers. Have you ever wondered what was under the hedgerows along the roads? Loop Head Lighthouse is perched high upon the cliffs at the tip of Loop Head Peninsula in County Clare. There you will have magnificent views of the Atlantic Ocean. A lighthouse has been at this location since 1670, first being a signal fire on the roof of a single-story cottage. The first actual tower was built in 1802, and in 1869 the light was changed from being fixed to flashing. In 1971 the light was converted to electricity and automated. Some scenes from the movie Star Wars: The Last Jedi were filmed at Loop Head Lighthouse, as well as other locations across the island. At certain times of the year you will see many native wildflowers blooming along the roadsides, cliffs, and in any nook and cranny, including the tiny sea pinks. Driving north along 487, we arrived at the Bridges of Ross. Originally there were 3 naturally formed stone arches on the western side of Ross Harbor. 2 have fallen into the sea. Well, we didn't actually see the bridges. We took the path to the right, which brought us to some spectacular views of the sea, cliffs, and a smaller stone arch. Maybe next time. Tiny saltwater mussels and anemone can be seen attached to the rocks at low tide. Up the road a bit are the Kilkee Cliffs with more spectacular views of the ocean. If time permits, there is a 2 to 3 hour cliff walk along the rugged coast. Leaving Kilkee Cliffs, we continue northward. We pass Doonbeg Castle. The name Doonbeg is derived from Doonbeg, meaning the small fort. The castle was built in the 16th century for the Earl of Thomond, Daniel O'Brien. In 1893, the castle stood 60 feet high with a frontage of 45 feet from west to east and a depth of 33 feet from south to north. And despite its deteriorating condition, 7 families lived in the tower. The castle was occupied until 1937, and since most has come down, leaving only the north corner standing. From here, we continue north to St. Brigid's Well in County Clare. St. Brigid's Well is one of the oldest wells and is rumored to have healing properties. The well attracts visitors year-round. Many leave mementos, rosaries, prayers, and photographs. We continued on through the town of Doolin and to our accommodations in Lisdoonvarna at the Elements Bed and Breakfast. The owners were very personable and accommodating. We recommend staying at this bed and breakfast if you are in the area. Up bright and early on our second day in Ireland, we made our way to Doolin Fair to catch the ferry to Inish Mor, the largest of the Aran Islands. Just over an hour boat ride aboard the Happy Hooker, we made our short walk to the Aran Island Hotel, where we will be staying for 2 nights. After checking into the hotel, we walked to the bar for a fabulous vegetarian dinner, watching and listening to locals. We rented bicycles and over the next 2 days rode around the island visiting several interesting historic sites. On day 1, before the sun went down, we set off on our bikes to visit Doonbeg. This handsome fellow is a gypsy vanner or cob. Gypsy vanners are draft horses and were bred to pull gypsy caravans. They are well known for their thick manes, tails, and feathers, and it is thought that the genes that carry all this hair also make them grow a mustache. Mares, stallions, and geldings all sport the iconic stash. Doonbeg is the best known prehistoric fort on the Aran Islands. It lies at the edge of a 330-foot cliff. It is not known when it was built. Excavations indicate that the first construction may go back as far as 1100 BC. Its name means Fort of Angus, which may refer to the mystical king Angus Macamore. Due to the incredibly strong winds at times, dry-laid stone walls were built to allow the wind to blow through. And also, since there generally aren't any gates, it makes it easier to dismantle and allow access to the fields. There isn't a lack of stone on Inish Mor. I had to see the wormhole after seeing photos online. It was quite a hike over rocky terrain. This was another well worth it adventure. The rectangular pool appears to be a man-made structure, but it was naturally formed by the ocean. In 2017, the first stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series was held at the wormhole. Divers jumped from a diving board into the chilly waters below. From July to October, the bright purple and pink flowers of the fuchsia plant can be seen everywhere. Fuchsia grows into shrubs and hedges in Ireland. On day 2 in Inish Mor, we are back in the saddle, so to speak, and we bike along paved roads and gravel paths. Leaving our bikes on the side of the road, we took a short hike through farmland and arrived at one of the best examples of a stone beehive hut in Ireland. Oval in shape on the outside, it has a corbelled roof and two opposite doorways to the northeast and the southeast. Inside it is rectangular with a small window on one end. Then up the hill to Doonbeg, one of several stone forts on the Aran Islands. It is a massive circular fort, 90 feet in diameter. It has 16-foot-high walls that are over 12 feet thick. The fort takes its name from the Onok tribe of Munster, who were associated with the islands in medieval times. The exact date of its construction is not known, but it is probably during the Iron Age. We took another ferry to the island of Inisheer, passing the middle island of Inish Mor. After checking into our hotel room, we rented bikes and took a ride around the island. Of particular interest was the Flossie shipwreck located on the eastern side of the island. It was a cargo ship carrying whiskey, stained glass, and yarn that ran aground on March 8, 1960 on Causeway. Local islanders rescued the entire crew. Several weeks later, a second storm washed the ship higher onshore. We walked along the coast over very rocky ground until we came to a walled pathway. The path took us south to Inisheer Lighthouse. The lighthouse was commissioned in 1857 and is still active. O'Brien's Castle is a 14th century fortress that stands on the highest point on Inisheer. The castle was the stronghold of the O'Brien clan until it was taken by the O'Flaherty clan of Connemara in 1582. The castle was occupied by the O'Flahertys and others until 1652, when the Aran Islands were surrendered to Cromwellian forces. The castle appears to have been partially dismantled at that time in favor of the Arkin fort on Inish Mor. There are many small but interesting sites on the island. The sacred well, Tobar Enya, which means St. Edna's Well, stone walls, a beautifully carved stone memorial to the fishermen lost at sea. Beautiful sunsets. Tomorrow we will be taking the ferry back to the mainland to continue our travels north.